I'm going to illustrate the three basic differences there are between InDesign template files, like the template for the trifold brochure that we've built right here, and InDesign document files, which we've already created in a couple of instances working up to this point. To illustrate the first difference, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the File pull-down menu, and I'm going to select the Save As command. Keyboard shortcut for that is Command-Shift-S if you're working on a Mac machine like we are for this chapter of our InDesign CS6 course. Or if you're working on a PC, Control-Shift-S. I'm just going to click it from the menu though, and as I pull up the Save As dialog box, what I'll see is that by default, what it wants to do is it wants to create an InDesign CS6 document file that I've been working with. That would be the INDD files that we've seen previously. If I change that to an InDesign CS6 template, what it would do is it would save that as INDT. Now I have one more option. If I'm saving this back to previous versions of InDesign for someone else to work on, I can save that as what's known as an IDML interchange file that's compatible with CS4, CS5, and CS5.5 versions of InDesign, as well as working with the InDesign CS6 that we're learning today. So I'm going to select the InDesign CS6 template file, and I'm going to save that file in Chapter 5. Because I already have one created, it's going to ask, do I want to replace that because it already exists? And in this case, because it is exactly what I want for the file, I'm simply going to say replace it. And what that'll do is that will create my new template. That's the first difference between InDesign template files and InDesign document files, the file suffix that exists at the end of it. The second difference I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to hide Adobe InDesign by going to the InDesign pull-down menu and selecting Hide InDesign. And when I do that, that'll bring me to the desktop for where I'm working on Chapter 5. Now you'll see that I've got a couple of files right here. One of them is my randy5.indt file. I also have this temporary file that shows up right here. Anytime you've got an InDesign document or template or interchange file open, a temporary file is also stored in that directory. So if for some reason InDesign should crash, or as I once had happen, somebody hits a light pole 2 blocks away and takes out the power for the entire block, this temporary file is kind of a mini save and will get you almost all the way to where you were before you had that root interruption to your InDesign file. Now, I'm going to switch very quickly to the icon view. And as I do that, I can see the second difference between InDesign document templates and InDesign document files. If you look here, this icon shows a little INDT and that there's a page turned off to the bottom. I'm going to go back to my cover flow view, and I'm going to go back to Chapter 2. And as I do that, and I change once again to the icon view, what I'll see is the InDesign document file that we created way back in Chapter 2. You'll notice in this case, it's got a little INDD that's set to the top and kind of offset to the left. It's got this little tab to the top, and it uses that INDD file suffix. So basically there are two differences that we've talked about here when you're working with InDesign template files as opposed to InDesign document files. As I go back to Chapter 5 and to the icon view, you'll see that the icon is a little bit different and that the file suffix is a little bit different. So this is difference number 1 and difference number 2. I'll show you what difference number 3 is when we go into the next chapter of our InDesign CS6 course.